Hi everyone, and welcome to the Live, Explore, Thrive podcast. Super excited. This is episode one. As I said, I've been talking about this for a while. It's finally here, and I'm super excited to have my first guest. He is I hate the word very old friend because it makes them sound like they're old themselves, but we've known each other since we were super young. We've grown up together. We've been on an incredible journey together with so many experiences. And yeah, I'm just glad that he is the first person to grace this podcast. He is a creative at heart, a videographer, photographer, worked with loads of big brands from Lululemon to Adidas. You name it, he's done it. And yeah, I'm so happy that he's joined us here today. Please welcome my friend, and dearest friend, should I say, Jamie James.
My man, lovely to be here.
Jay, what do we call you now? Because over the years, I've called you so many different things. There's been James, Jay, Jamie James, a combination of the two. What is your preferred choice?
I'm liking Jamie James at the moment.
Yeah, is that something that's catching on?
Yeah, I mean, most people know me as Jamie James now, or JJ or something.
JJ.
Um,
Okay, cool. And how's that kind of evolved? Because I guess there's a bit of a story really, and it's super interesting. You know, we've known each other as I've just highlighted there, growing up. You know, we've known each other since we were like 4 or 5 years old, and we've been on this crazy journey of growth together, right? You know, in the sense that I guess, you know, if we both look back to who we were during school and college to the people that we are now, you know, there's I would say a bit of a difference in terms of our personalities and characteristics in terms of the traits that we've developed. I mean, especially for me, seeing you grow in the past 12 months, I want to understand that kind of journey because I think you've really been on this real interesting journey, and perhaps Jamie James is part of that journey. Who knows? You know, maybe that's all part of this new kind of life you're building. But yeah, I'd love to kind of share with people that the kind of, especially that last 12 months of growth that you've been having and how that kind of all came about.
hmm, um, yeah. So let's start with the name.
Yeah, let's do it.
So my whole life, I've had family calling me Jamie and teachers calling me James. I've introduced myself to James to certain people, Jamie to others I've never really known. My passport says James. Family call me Jamie, and when kind of Instagram came out, I was looking for a name, and I just thought Jamie James. It combines the two, and it stuck. And I just became my kind of business profile, and almost like a character I was creating as well as the business. Um, and now people are shocked when they find out it's not actually my real name.
Just got to keep it going.
Um, uh, but yeah, I don't know. Like the last, I guess you and me both. We're always kind of seekers. We're trying to find happiness, really. Ultimately, if we look at it, like whether it's through our careers or like the next self development thing or something, and through that kind of journey, I recently it's all fallen away. Like I used to be on such a self-development path. I was trying to better myself. I was trying to better this character I'd made up called Jamie James, and how can I grow my career, and how can I be less stressed, and how can I just enjoy myself. And I had a moment last October where I saw it all as just that, just a character that had beliefs and limiting beliefs and everything. It all fell away. My personal development all fell away. I just saw that I was working on a character, and it just like since then life's been super easy and super crazy, like cruisy. I don't get caught up in wanting to be anything else other than I kind of really am. I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I found just by moving with the flow, things that I've always wanted in my life seem to just be kind of working out. without me trying to really effort them or worrying about them, or like really trying to create them. Things have been happening without any stress, and if they don't happen, then I'm not that bothered anyway. I'm just really happy to go with the flow and see what life brings me.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such an interesting topic that I think, it'd be awesome to explore a little more. This whole concept of, we try to create these identities, right? I mean, like, think back to when we were in our teens and early 20s, we were just kids that loved to I guess live life to the max. It was all about the festivals, going out, just, being kids and just doing all those kind of crazy things that we all do. And we take those lessons away and it helps us grow, and now we're kind of living life in a very different way. And you touched upon self-development, and I had this conversation with someone recently about being super regimented, super structured, being focused on this character, as you kind of rightfully said, that we're trying to build. But in reality, sometimes it's okay just to let that all go and actually just enjoy what's happening. And I can kind of relate to that in the sense that for the last, I guess, just probably similar kind of time frame, 12 to 18 months, I've also been kind of very regimented in building a profile for myself, building my brand, all these things that we do. And I would read all these books on self-development, listen to all these podcasts, watch all these YouTube videos, and you get into that fix where it's great. You feel like you're gaining this purpose, but in reality, when you just let that all go and just be in the moment and experience what's happening around you, and just realize that it's okay, that you don't have to get up super early and journal every morning, or journal before bed, or be creating all these crazy projects, or thinking you have to be a certain somebody in society, and you can just be happy with who you are. Suddenly life becomes a lot easier, as you said. Like, it does become so much more cruisy. It does become easier, hey, like in a sense that we can just create this flow that we can just go with, rather than trying to fight the current. And it's such an interesting topic, and you see it so often, right? People just almost trying to follow the trends, trying to like kind of be, and we're I can put my hands up and say, I've been guilty of, we try and model off other people, we try and do what they're doing to try and gain that same success, whatever success means to you. And it's such an interesting kind of thing to hear from you, especially because I know, as I said, in that kind of the last probably 12 months or maybe more, you were very focused on becoming this confidence coach. I don't know if that's still the journey, it doesn't matter if it's not, like, but that was who you were building, right? And it's so funny in a way that it's awesome to hear that it's okay for people to step away from these paths. And I'm sure you'll go back to it at some point, as we all do.
Yeah, well, funny you should say that. Yesterday I had my first client, and I didn't try and do it, they came to me. And the whole process of that was, I used to really, really suffer from stress, and no one would know it, because I was just like the dude that would just go to Australia and was super lucky to bump into people and film their villas, and bump into someone and they're going to take me down here. But when anything, like when like 2 or 3 things would build up, like through school, I really suffered with having to try and be good at so many subjects and try and like pass the exams that I wasn't really interested in. That I would just be taken with stress, like it would consume me, and I wouldn't know what to do, and I would just procrastinate, and it would get worse and worse. And then I would like kind of build my lifestyle around like avoiding stressful situations. But then I learned that it's never the circumstance that brings the stress. It was just the way that I was thinking about it. And when I really saw that, because it's a cool thing to say, like, yeah, it's just the way you're thinking about it, but it's not that I reframe my thoughts. I just see it as that's all it is. It's just a stressful thought. Like, it's there to tell me that I'm not on the right path. Cool, relax, a new thought will come. When I really experienced that, it helped me so profoundly that I kind of knew at some stage, like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people that are super stressed to realize that they don't have to stay there. Stress is not a real thing. Like, you can't put it in a wheelbarrow. It's made of thought, and thoughts come and go all the time.
And that's so interesting, dude, because if we again we go on this journey of winding back the clock to when we were kids, like if I was to, I mean, we know each other really well, and obviously we speak a lot about this journey that you're on at the moment and the whole stress element. But if I was to look back, and I'm sure people will look back who went to school with you or knew you around that time, you, and even after school and college, right? You are the most like laid back, happy go, adventurous kind of person that you'd ever meet. And from an outlook, right? Like you would just think that stress would never even be something that existed in your world of Jamie James, because you just had this persona that everyone was attracted to, this almost charisma where you were just always super, super happy. And, everything just seemed, like stress would just dissolve. And it's so interesting to hear that. And, even, do you remember when we were on a course, right? And that was kind of the first, I guess, indication where we did that test where we had to summarize certain situations, and it came out as you were super stressful. And we kind of looked at each other, and this is when we were like 18 or 19 when we were doing the personal training, right? And yeah, it said that you were this super stressful guy, and you were like, hey, what? Like, I'm not stressful. Like, what am I got to be like, what have I got to be stressed about? And that's kind of, it's so interesting, because I know obviously we've spoken about this a lot, and I can kind of relate a lot to that and kind of see that now. But yeah, growing up, no one had any idea, I don't think.
Well, I think the thing to look at there is, like, most of the time I wasn't. And then when I experienced stressful thinking, I really didn't know how to cope with it. So I was. So it wasn't like I was pretending to be this cool character. Like, most of the time, I just wasn't caught up in my thinking. And I was just going with the flow. And then when something would happen, like, I really didn't know how to cope with it. So I just went from like, yeah, to like, oh no.
But when did you start to kind of realize that stress was a big thing in your life? And then how did you, I guess, take those steps to understanding that it was just an internal thought that you manifested? Like, where did that start?
It was the biggest blessing, stress, because it led me to this realization. And I remember the moment. I was testing out a GoPro that I bought, like this GoPro mount that would allow me to film things as like from a bird's eye view of just me looking out. And I was like looking at the monitor, and I was looking at the thing, and I saw the back of my head, and I saw that I was losing my hair. And I was like, what? Like, I'm like, there's no pattern of that in my family. Like, this is not cool. Like, growing up, I used to have curtains, and I used to be up. Like, my whole identity used to be about like my crazy hair or whatever.
Yeah,
so it's a big part of my
boy band Jazza.
Yeah, it was a big part of my, like, who I thought I was. And that really stressed me out. I was like, oh man, if I lose all my hair, then like I'm not gonna be who I am, and like and I got a load of thinking, and I got really stressed out, and I was like, I need to I think the reason I'm losing hair is because I'm stressed, and I need to do something about this. And so that led me on the path of looking into like what stress really is, and a lot of self-development, which I now can see was working on my psychology and my character. And now I'm kind of operating despite my psychology. So all of that stuff still happens to me in my life, but it's almost like I look at it from like an out-of-body experience of, it's just like watching a movie of my life. I know that I'm okay, whatever's going on.
Yeah, no, and that's such a kind of great way, and it's such an important lesson to take away from it. I think that's something that we all relate to as men, right? Hair is part of our appearance, and that's growing up, and as if you're not used to it, some people obviously receive quite young. It can be quite a daunting prospect, right? Like I just something that went through my head, growing up. When I went through, a real bad spout of stress and depression, when I came back from Australia, I noticeably saw like these, I guess almost hair was just coming out, really, really quickly. And it is true, I think, where you do get stressed, hair does fall out, and it does worry you, but then again, it's just, things like that don't define us. Clothes that we wear, how we style our hair, how we look, that doesn't define who we are. It's part of who we are, it builds our character, but it isn't like truly who we are as in terms of people. What makes us who we are is, it sounds corny, but it's what's on the inside, right? Our character, our soul, those types of things. I think that says a lot, but it still doesn't stop us, thinking about it or stressing about it there in the moment. But film, video, photography, you were just talking about it then, and I think this is such a fascinating topic, because especially in the last 18 months with COVID, you've seen so many people. There's been a lot of chaos, we can't escape that, and there's been a lot of unfortunately a lot of negativity, and unfortunately there's been an increase in deaths and all those other things that have gone on. But there's also been a lot of positives. There's a lot of people that have taken control of their lives and started to realize where they are in life or in their current job isn't necessarily where they want to be, and that they've made those radical changes and started to pursue things that make them happy, or started their own business. Now, something that I've always admired about you was how you became this self-taught photographer and videographer, and then just pursued it. Like you just it just became part of you. I know you've always had that element about you, that creative side, but you know there was, I mean, you can tell the story, but there was a point in Australia where you went away and you got given a camera, and then suddenly you started producing all this content. I know you were making videos on a GoPro, I think you had before that. But yeah, suddenly this whole journey opened up. I mean, was that something that you ever wanted to really pursue, or did it just come at the right time? What happened there? Because I always look at that kind of story and I think, man, this guy's just living his best life. And that's what I love about you. You do just embrace whatever kind of experience is thrown at you and just live it to the max. And that's something I've always admired about you. I don't know if I've actually told you that, but yeah, it's something I've always seen, because you're living that dream of just running with something you're passionate about, using your creativity and putting it to good use. But how did that journey come about?
Well, it was nothing that I didn't want to be a photographer or a video or anything. I just really enjoyed, like, the GoPro had just come out. It was cool. And I loved extreme sports and stuff. So of course I wanted to film it. And I really loved music, and I loved putting the video to the music and trying to make it line up and stuff. And so I just did that because I enjoyed it. And I made videos and I showed people my videos. And at one stage someone was like, wow, can we buy this video? And I was like, yeah, yes, you can. And I just followed it. I never pursued it as a job. I did start telling people I was a filmmaker after just making a GoPro video. And then someone was like, oh, we need a video. And I just said yes to it, yes to it, yes to it. And one thing led to another. I never had like a target end goal of I want to work with this brand, this brand, this brand. It's always just been doing stuff because I enjoy it, meeting people. Most of my success in my video and photo career has literally just been like bumping into people, getting on really well with them.
And it's funny as well how you say you didn't really have a goal, because well, I guess there's two parts of that. I guess that shows you the power of networking. I guess that's a really good point to put out there to anyone who is, aspiring to start up their own business, whatever it's in, is to just network, build a community around you who can help you get there or introduce you to opportunities of work. But also you said about goals. Now, I always, I always remember growing up with you. You always to say, by the time you hit 30, you would be a millionaire. And,
Yeah.
and you know, now we're in our 30s. What, I mean, what do you think, like, not necessarily what happened, but I mean, goals shift all the time, right? But um, do you think that was ever something that, do you think, I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think it's easy when you're younger to get caught up in this wheel of chasing money, chasing, you know, this what we perceive to be this ideal life of, you know, obtaining all this money. But then as you get older, you actually understand that it's not about the money, but more about the happiness and, you know, the fulfillment. Like you said earlier, you know, we start kind of changing our perception of what happiness is and what that brings us. I mean, would you say
Mm,
that's something that's happened with you? I mean, what's the goals now?
yeah.
Like how they differ, do you think, from when you were chasing those types of goals to where you are chasing your new goals, whatever they are now?
I think I just saw the reason I wanted £1 million, and that was because the same reason anyone is driven to do anything in life is because they think it will bring them some sense of happiness,
Mm,
peace, or contentment. You think, I'll make £1 million, it will bring you some sort of security, or it will buy you something that will make you feel something.
yeah.
And I found that it was way easier just to go straight to the feeling and
Um,
just like look at a tree and be like, wow, and I feel that. And don't get me wrong, I still think money's really cool. I
mm,
love spending money on stuff that I love to do. I still have like a character who loves to surf and stuff, and I'm always looking at buying like new surfboards or a motorbike or something. But it comes when I just do things that I like,
mm,
and like I still think goals are really cool to have a direction.
yeah, no, definitely.
But now it's just like fun. It's not
Mm,
like I have to get there so that I can be happy. It's like I'm happy. Now what do I want to do? What would be cool to do? So in 3 months, 4 months, I'm going to go to Costa Rica, and there's a certain amount of money that I want to create so I can just completely do whatever I want out there. And I don't know how I'm going to get that amount of money yet, but I've set the goal, and I'm just trusting to follow my intuition and things will come up. And this morning, a really cool job came up, and I was like, oh, it's beginning. Yeah.
putting it out in the universe, and the universe is returning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just hold in your mind, like you just, if there's something you want, you all you need to do is start walking towards it and pay
Mm.
attention to start to what shows up, and just take the opportunities as they come.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel kind of like I'm in that space now where I've spent, you know, a good probably 3 years doing this whole self-development journey, maybe more actually. Now we're in coming towards the end of 2021, maybe 4 years, maybe more, like just spending a lot of time focusing on developing myself and, you know, giving myself the tools to um, be in this position where I am mentally in a really good place. And, you know, I just feel like I'm in this really creative, like kind of position at the moment where I'm now focusing my attention to how I can make money in the sense that it's never really been something that I've focused on the last 3, 4 years. It's always been about giving back, giving back, giving back, you know, trying to help support people, you know, running these support groups, running talks and, you know, doing these keynote speaks and, you know, doing the coaching and all those kind of things that are really impactful. And, you know, I still give back in other ways. But yeah, I've really recently just had this new kind of shift where it's almost like being a bit selfish, right? And it's just like, well, how do we actually? How else can we make money? You know, my full time job is going quite well at the moment, and we've spoken about that. But also, I'm looking at other things. You know, I've just started investing in crypto and learning about crypto and kind of getting into that and looking at kind of different ways where I can start really manifesting and building towards that dream. Like you said, of Costa Rica, you know, just having being able to go away on those types of experiences and having the ability just to enjoy it without stressing about working or where the next kind of paycheck is going to come in. And that's what I'm starting to create, but for a future of just having that constantly. Like, don't get me wrong, I love working and I love the kind of whole entrepreneurial journey and getting stuck in projects. But I think I'm in an interesting phase now where I'm just wanting to really learn about money in a way that we can make more of it, and then bring people on that journey to help them understand how they can also do it, because I think that's so important. You have this circle of people around you, and I'm learning a lot from people at the moment about these different avenues, and it blows my mind. I'm still learning loads at the moment, but it's so interesting. And that's kind of a new way of giving back, is helping create ways in which people can also jump on board the success of others. I think that's also another interesting kind of step or a new challenge in my own journey in life. So what's the next kind of, I guess, journey for Jamie James? Like, where does he go now? Because the world is starting to, I say normalize, but we're still kind of in a pretty messed up place, let's be honest. Things still are kind of not back to how they used to be. And with your job and just who you are, you've always done a lot of traveling, and you've always been one of these people that, that's been very much embedded, not just in your brand, but your personality. You've always just been a drifter, a traveler, someone who always just kind of a nomad in a sense, but obviously you have a base now in Bournemouth, but you've always just been this travel guy. And so you've mentioned Costa Rica, which would be cool. What else is on the plans and for you in kind of the rest of 2021, but going into 22?
I'm so happy to say that I don't know. And this is a testament to how I've been living recently, but really more so like the last week.
Are you still working on your secret project?
So I think I found an investor.
Amazing.
I think I found someone who can like get it out. I've done what I wanted to do with it, but that's now cool. I really just want it to be a fun project, so I'm just looking for people to have fun with. But yeah, I have some things I want to do, but I've been allowing space for things just to happen. So for instance, yesterday I had no plans. My flatmate was like, "What are you doing today?" I was like, "I don't know. See what comes up." And then someone gives me a message and they're like, "Oh, do you want to go for a coffee in town?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll pick you up in the Land Rover." So check the old Land Rover into town, and it's really nice. The sun was out, and we just wandered through town. And I bumped into a friend, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing later?" And I was like, "Oh, I've got no plans." And he was like, "We're going out on the boat to watch the air show." And I was like, "Wow, I'm free, yeah." And I ended up having this most amazing day. And it doesn't always work like that, but I've been living more and more from just going with whatever's happening. And so I know that I'm going to Costa Rica. Like, I've got that plan. I've got like accommodation for 2 weeks, but other than that, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I cannot wait to find out. I might get ill and I might have to come home. I might end up living there. Who knows? But I'm just going to go and see what happens.
Dude, Bournemouth looks like, you say like not every day is like that, but Bournemouth's just in its own little bubble. It's like its own little world within the UK. Like, obviously, as you know, I got family that live in Bournemouth, and I'm telling you now, like, I want to move to Bournemouth. Like, in the next kind of few years, I want to move to Bournemouth just because the lifestyle there, I don't know if it's just how you portray it and how my family members portray it, but it just seems like the most laid back kind of, if you're into the beach scene and, a decent beach and the surf and all that kind of stuff, then it just seems like the coolest place to be. And again, I know it's always weather dependent, right? But it always, like, when I look out my window and it's raining and dull, I look on your Instagram or like my cousin's Instagram, and it's always like sunshine, and it's just
yeah. Well, that I actually do. I was gonna go somewhere else with this, but I actually do think that when you live by the coast, there's just this wind that just blows the weather in and out, and so you get to experience it all, and the sun always comes out at some point. But I know people that live in Bournemouth and that just hate it.
Really? Well, I guess it's the same as anywhere in the world, though, right?
Yeah, well, we've been to like literal paradise on a dream jobs. We went to Bali, and I've experienced like not being happy
Mm.
and being in absolute paradise, the absolute gig, flying business class there, and just having everything I ever wanted. You had that amazing villa, and we were there, and I just had moments where I'm just like didn't feel right, and that's when I really got, oh, nothing outside of me can make me happy, only the way
Mm.
that I think about it. And so I think about Bournemouth in like, how do I get out of the water? And I find people that have got boats, and like I maybe use my photography and I go and take some photos of them, or uh, I find the cool coffee shops online and I just go there, and you meet cool people in cool places. So I know people that don't enjoy this place, and I know people that like find the good in everything here.
I think that's such an important message as well, you know, especially to those, and it's easy to get carried away. And if I go back to what I was saying, you know, it's very easy to almost compare your lifestyle, right? You know, as I said before, we all do it to a certain level, but like you said there, like with Bali, you know, there was a lot of kind of wicked experiences. We were there for, you know, a good few weeks, and it's funny, isn't it, how you can kind of be in these situations but never quite truly, not necessarily appreciate, because you know we were super blessed to be what we were doing over there, but like at the same time it was yeah, it's so interesting when you can go to these places but just like mentally you don't quite feel like it's bringing you what you thought it would. And I think this happens with so many people who strive to achieve that. They perhaps, you know, earn a certain amount that they think will bring them happiness. You know, like we spoke about the £1 million by the age of 30, or you know, perhaps they get to a position when they can just travel the world, but then it's not the same. And I think this goes back to what you said really early on in the kind of conversation, which when you can get to a point in your life where you stop chasing or thinking the grass is always greener on the other side, that's when you will be most happy, I think. I mean, it's great to have goals, like, don't get me wrong, like to have money, because as you said, money is fun. You know, what we can spend money on, you know, brings us joy, even if for a short period of time, or to be able to travel the world, because you know you get to really understand and learn from different cultures and their experiences and everything there. But you know, if you put yourself under so much pressure, that creates so much stress, right? And that's what I think was a massive lesson for me in the last few years, especially with my mental health and, you know, just improving my outlook, was to stop trying to force things to happen and just be present with what I have and appreciate everything that's going on around me, and just um, yeah, just be in that moment. And this kind of follows on actually nicely and segues into a conversation we had, and it was shortly after an experience that you had that kind of, you said, changed your life in that moment. You know, I still don't know if you're on that same trajectory. I can't even talk today. But that direction that you had when you learned about 3P coaching, and you had that breakthrough when you was it a coaching session, or was it a seminar?
It was basically someone explaining to me how humans experience life, and three fundamental principles to life. And a principle is like gravity. It's just something, whether you believe in it or not, it's just gonna happen. It's gonna do what it does. And so something in realizing that completely.
Because you said to me that you like just ran down to the beach, you were singing, you were dancing,
uh
and
yeah,
it's given you this whole new appreciation of life. Not new, maybe not necessarily new, but in a sense of, you look around and, like you said, you appreciate this tree and you can experience this tree, or you know, whatever it is that's around you, which to some people probably sounds like you're on, I don't know, acid or smoking something that is making you hallucinate. But it's an interesting kind of level of consciousness, I guess, that probably we should all strive towards, because I think
the
that's
thing
that's
is, the you bang on, but you never have to strive for it because you are it. like it's human beings at their true nature when we're not caught up in our thinking, when we're not all up in our awareness isn't in our mind, in our head, in our thoughts, thinking about the past or the future, which doesn't exist. We tap into the reality that there is just this continuous long moment of presence, and it feels incredible, even if you're not really doing anything incredible, because the more you see it, the more you see everything that you think about who you are is made of this thought principle that of just thoughts, and it falls away, and you can just appreciate anything because you no longer like this type of food or this type of movie or music. You have no judgment on anything, so you can just enjoy everything for truly what it is.
And how do you go about explaining that to someone, especially like a younger
I
audience?
don't know, man.
Because it's such a powerful
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Because I can kind of I understand, and we've spoken a lot about this, you know, on a weekly basis to some extent, and there is so much truth. And you know, that this journey that we're all on, the two kind of grounding factors that hold us back, you know, are fear and uncertainty. And we've spoken a lot about this, and there's other things as well. But you know, if we're, I mean, not just kids and teenagers, but you know, adults as well, this is something that really does impact people's mindsets in a sense that they're held back because of things like beliefs or fears or uncertainty. And I think you know, if more people can get to this heightened level of, you know, consciousness, and they're able to access that utopia that you speak about, just humans ultimately just being humans, moving away from, as you describe, like these polluted waters. How do we help people get there? You know, if there's listeners right now who are feeling stuck, who are feeling down, or they're stuck in that rut where they are comparing themselves or putting pressure on themselves to be somewhere. You know, I still hear it from people who have just hit 30, and you know, they said, by this age I should have had a house, I should have a higher paying job or a family, you know, all those things that we think or we're told we should have as we're going through like school into, you know, later adolescenthood. And it's just not true, right? Like now, you know, in our 30s, it's no different to our 20s. It's, you know, I feel in a stronger position. I'm living some of my best years going into late 20s into early 30s. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had some awesome times, you know, we had some awesome experiences through our late teens and early 20s. And I say we because, you know, we've literally done so much together. You know, we've been to festivals together, you know, in a small group. We lived in Australia. We migrated over there for a few years. You know, we've done a lot of things together. We've been in a lot of travels together. But I mean, don't get me wrong, those were cool experiences and we learned a lot from them. But I'm really enjoying now. It's weird to say that considering everything that's going on around us, and that we're not quite back to this normal or the normality that we all know. But there's still so much to learn in life. And I think that just gives me, I'm just loving this journey. I'm just loving like this whole kind of concept of finding out more about myself and what I'm capable of, and, you know, setting myself new challenges and just getting stuck in and just being in that place where everything is just learning rather than perceiving, you know, putting stress on myself and then perceiving that failure if they don't go to plan as the be end of all, because that's what a lot of people do. And you know what you've touched upon is so fascinating, and I wish there was an easier way to package it and just give it to people, because it's such an enlightening experience. And you know, we spent like a long time getting to these positions that we're in now, and we've had to go through all the experiences we've had, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, to be the people that we are today.
I will say that I know that this realization that I've had, you can have it in a microsecond. You don't need to go through trauma. You don't need to work on a made up character. You don't need to get to a certain stage, it's literally one thought away to a whole new experience of life.
Mm. But where did people start? This is a
So
serious question, right? Like if I
yeah,
was if you were telling me this, I mean, obviously we, as I said, we've spoken in great depth about this, and um, we've both been on journeys of learning and studies and courses to really kind of give us the best position to talk about these subjects and coach people in this way. But how do you take someone through a journey to helping them see, there's a lot of people who are really struggling at the moment because, people are still anxious about what's going on outside of their homes. There's people still losing jobs. Yes, there's a lot of job opportunities, but there's still a lot of chaos going on in the world. And, we're seeing, especially in like mental health, we're seeing some of the highest numbers of referrals to like the NHS services here in the UK that we ever have. And so this, I think, is so powerful for helping people in those situations. But where do you start?
so universally,
Mm.
because if someone came to me for help, what I would do is I would listen to them without any judgment, knowing that underneath all they're thinking about, whatever they're making up as a problem, underneath all of that, they're absolutely perfect.
Mm.
And they have inside of them this wisdom that will guide them to whatever they seek in the world, but it also is exactly what they're seeking. They already have. And I would let them that wake up in them. But if I was to universally give out some unsolicited advice, it would be to point people towards what they have going for them as a human being. And that is, when we settle down our thinking, we get fresh thoughts that come with better feelings. And I would point people towards what fear, anxiety, confidence, all those things actually really are, which is just different types of thoughts that come with different feelings. And I would tell them about how to use their feelings as an indicator for that. So anxiety is actually an incredible thing. It's basically the human body's way of letting you know that you're in some really, really messed up thinking. You're having like 1,000 thoughts per minute, right? On the rev counter of your brain. You're running really high. And so you get this feeling, which is telling you you should calm down. Nothing's useful here. That's what that feeling's there for you to do. As you start to come down 500 thoughts a minute, you start to get better thinking. You're still pretty stupid. You can't really access some good thinking when you've got too much going on up there, right? Everything just is clouded by all these thoughts. You come down to like 100 thoughts per minute. You start to see things a little bit clearer. You start to have some better ideas. You settle down, you come right down. You're going to be in flow. You're going to be in contact with your intuition, with insight. And that comes with a much nicer feeling of like peace or happiness. And you know, you can trust your thinking in that state. So stress is the same. You're just revved up. It's just a feeling to tell you that you need to calm down. And the body has this natural system of when you calm down, new thought will come and guide you to a better solution.
Dude, you've become so insightful and so kind of, I guess, spiritual on so many kind of levels just on this journey. And it's so, again, amazing to hear and see this change in person, right? Who you are now compared to where you were. What would be the biggest advice? I know people ask this a lot, but what would be your biggest advice to give to to a younger Jamie James, you know, what would be your, I mean, like I said, like everything that you've done in life has led to this point. You know, you can't necessarily change the past, but if you could give, you know, one bit of life, or even, you know, perhaps some biggest lessons learned in your lifespan so far, what would that be?
I never had to worry,
Why don't
because
you have to worry?
ultimately, like, whatever happens, I'm always going to be okay. And sometimes I might have different ideas about what okay is.
Mm.
But for instance, when I was a freelancer and I was worrying whether I was going to get a job that month or whatever, pay the rent, like, I still had those thoughts like 4 years on. Yeah, I've had 4 years of paying the rent. And I'm like, it's time to stop worrying. Like, I wish I just hadn't spent 4 years worrying about that. I could have enjoyed myself. Um, and because I was so stressed, like, if I could go back and tell myself something, it would just be like, ultimately, everything is going to be okay. I'm not sure if that's helpful for people to hear.
No, I think that is. I think that's a powerful message, right? Because people, like you said, let's take the rent for example. You focus on the unknown. You create stories right in your head. There's a narrative. If I don't pay my rent, I'm screwed. I'm out of this house tomorrow. There's no, and then it goes off on a tangent. You're like, I can't. There's no way I can
The
come up
rev
with.
counter of
Yeah,
thoughts goes
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and stuff
exactly.
gets out of hand. You get crappy thinking.
So I think that's such a powerful thing. I had this conversation actually with someone yesterday who messaged me, a good friend of mine. Oh, did you meet Ollie in Australia, or was that after you when you had moved back? Did you meet
Might
Ollie?
have been past my time.
Hmm. He reached out to me and or I messaged him because he's been going through a rough time to see how he was, and he said to me that he'd been feeling pretty miserable in the sense of he just had no energy. He got home and he just felt like he just wanted to sleep all the time, and you know it starts to go in that spiral, that downward spiral. But kind of, I can't remember exactly what I said to him, but I said to him, you know, if you need that time, if that's what you need at that precise moment, you do it because you're not you're not feeling tired. It's not a sign of you giving up. You're just hibernating. You're just waiting for your moment when you can kind of grasp that change in your life and really kind of, you know, propel yourself forward again and create that momentum. And, you know, there'll be a spark which ignites that fire. And it's so interesting. I think that all comes down to that perception, isn't it, of how we perceive a certain situation. You can either look at it as a negative and think, as you say, the rev counter starts to go up and you're just going to add it and you're just going to keep revving until it gets to that point where you're at breaking point, or you just change that whole thought pattern. You just, you know, break the cycle and, you know, just do something that's going to take your mind off it, help you relax, and actually help you understand that, you know, that's not true. I have the power to change the outcome. I can go ask my parents for money. I can go sell something to make some money. I can go find another job. You know, there's always ways to make money. Like you said, like, you know, it's easy to become stressed about something, but actually it becomes easy when you realize that instead of creating barriers, you create solutions.
Well, even if you just wake up to the fact that it's a fact, it's just a sign telling you that you're having a thought that is unhelpful. And then you don't have to think it's about you. It's just the body's way of pointing you towards, like, I'm in helpful thinking. I'll settle down. Like, this is a very unhelpful way to look at this situation. Thanks for letting me know, feelings. And like, when you touched on depression, I now look at de- being depressed as deep rest. Like, it's the body's way of, it's like those, like, I don't know if you've been to a hotel where they have those like cheap hair dryers and they're like, you're trying to dry your whole body off and they just like short circuit because they get too hot and they shut off. They have like a hot like shut off switch.
Yeah, yeah,
To me,
yeah.
that's what depression is. It's like, I'm pushing myself too much up in my head with my goals, and I'm doing too much at work.
Mm.
The body's clock, the like the switches don't do anything. I'm forcing you into deep rest because you're pushing yourself too much. And
Love
when
that.
you know that that's all it is, You don't have to think that there's something wrong with you. It's just another indication that you might have been burning the candle at each end and you need some time to relax. It's when you think that it's a problem that you always experience your thinking. So you're gonna experience a problem. Yeah, oh, there's something wrong with me. Why can't I get up and do something? You've just been overdoing it, man. Like, use this time. Your body's telling you to rest. And no one stays there. You only stay there if you continually think about it. So you're always feeling your thinking. Whatever you think about, you feel, and that's the way life works. So like we were in paradise, and I was physically in paradise, but I was thinking other thoughts and I was experiencing my thinking. Circumstances has nothing to do with it. I've recently broke my leg, and like I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and we were just walking around town, and then I remembered that I have a broken leg, and I started like limping, and it started to hurt, and I was like, oh, when I don't think about my broken leg, I don't experience it. It's not that it's not broken, but I literally don't experience it. You can only experience what you're thinking about. So when you think about stress, you're going to experience it. You think of negative thoughts, you're going to experience it.
That's so true. And how is your leg? Because the more I think about it and the more I see the pictures of that, sorry, a little bit off topic, the more I'm like, you're so lucky to have just come off with that, because how fast were you driving on that bike?
I don't know. Not too fast. I was just off road, and I learned the lesson that you don't put the front brake on a motorbike on when you're off road, because it just locks up and you fall off. And that was my first kind of real time on that power of bike off road, and I don't regret it. It was super fun. I wasn't wearing like boots. If I was wearing boots, I'd probably be absolutely fine now. So I learned that lesson too. And I can honestly say I've enjoyed having a broken leg. Like, there were some annoying times with the crutches at first, and you like go and make a coffee and you can't take it anywhere because you have to use the crutches. So you end up just standing there and drinking your coffee, and then you like go there and you sit down and you try and think about how good your coffee was. Like, it wasn't really fun all the time, but I have really enjoyed it. Like, I've just enjoyed slowing down, accepting that I've got a broken leg. Do I want to think this is shit, or do I just want to say, hey, it is what it is? And with that just came this like peace and acceptance of what is. And so it's been super easy for me.
But then on the flip side of that, it didn't start. It'd be interesting to know how you managed to shift your mindset, because I remember shortly after you had broken it and it got quite bad because you were doing all this crazy stuff on it and you could hardly walk on it. I think they didn't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't know you'd quite broken it straight away, or the extent of it. And then
I just didn't go to hospital.
I
just thought like motorbike fell on my leg and fell off it, and probably sprained my ankle. And
story, always go to hospital.
yeah.
But I remember you were, because you called me up, didn't you? And you said that it was a pretty difficult situation to deal with, not difficult in the sense that you were struggling, but I think it was like a few days in, or like maybe 4 or 5 days in, and you were just kind of fed up. I think you were like, your roommate was away or something, and you were just by yourself, and there was no one around, and it was just
I really felt that the same feeling when I was in isolation as well. I think we might have spoke about it. I had some really, really low thinking. But this is the thing I know now, that because I've experienced, is like I was caught up in some low level thinking for a bit. The nature of thought is it comes and it goes. So I'm not saying that I'm living in this blissful state all the time.
No,
I'm a human being. Things come and go. I experience stuff all the time. But whenever I see these bad feelings, like in the moment, it's crap. And then when I remember that it's just a sign to say I'm coming away from home, I'm not on the right path, it's not the way, it's the best sign. I'm like, thank you for like making life get worse and worse and worse, until I remembered that everything's okay. I'm just feeling my thinking.
Yeah, and that's I just love that whole concept, and it's amazing to, as I said, you've become so insightful and so kind of level-headed in this, and I'm super excited for you. I think you're going to go on a real interesting journey in this world of coaching and helping people that way, even if it's not something that you end up pursuing as a full-time gig, and it's just something that you do every now and then. Kind of like what you're doing at the moment. I'm super excited to hear more about your learnings there, because I think I think it's just crazy to think of, as I say, how you've grown over the last 25 years or so that I've known you, and this person now sitting in front of me, literally sitting in front of me, and just just where you are is super cool to see. And yeah, I'm super excited for you. I can't wait to see more about, not more about, just hear more about kind of these experiences and learnings, because I think especially when we come into this world of a lack of support. And actually, I read somewhere something interesting, that they were saying how, I can't remember where I read it, but there was this article on, or someone tweeted about, what was it they said? We are trying to treat things like mental illness and people that are struggling. We're trying to treat them with old methods, like old forms of psychology, old traditional strategies that perhaps don't really work. And I think we need to change our way of thinking in terms of how we support people. And I think this is a whole new interesting way of really helping people, not necessarily who are struggling with mental illness, but that are just perhaps lost or feeling a bit overwhelmed by what's happening in life right now. And I think, you're just creating this whole new modern way to help enlighten people and help give them transparency. Give them what's the word I'm looking for, when you open their eyes to the possibilities, or not even the possibilities, just open their eyes and understand they don't need to do anything right now, that they're okay. And I love that word, because that is literally it, right? To know that we're okay where we are. We don't have to do anything right now. We don't have to. And I'm a big victim of being caught up in my thought of, I have to create this project that's going to change people's lives. It's going to offer them this monumental level of support and build a community that's going to do it, when in reality I don't need to do any of that. I help people in so many ways. And something actually I loved what you told me was, we just help empower people by living our best lives. That's how we can help people. And I think that's such a powerful message as well. Just focus on you first, become the best version of you, or take those steps to becoming the best version of you. And that will inspire other people to do the same, without having to be a coach, without having to, do anything else. And, it's okay. I think that message of, it's okay to be where you are right now, because your time will come.
Time is now.
Or the time is now. We all, well, we do have the choice as well, I guess. We can get, I mean, what are you doing for the rest of your weekend? Are you going to make something happen now, or are you just chilling? What's the next thing in your
I'm going to go, I just joined a gym that's on the beach. So I'm going to go and work out.
Oh, was it the one in the literally on the beach, the sand one?
Yeah, really
That's so cool. Yeah, I love that. I love the vibes
It's
there.
run by ex-military guys. Loads of tires and ropes and bars and stuff in the sand. Super good for the recovery of the ankle. So I'm going to go have a workout, and then there's an air show going on. I don't know if you can hear it.
No, I haven't heard anything from it.
Cool. So there's literally like jets flying past. So I'll be down that way. So I'll see who's around, see what happens. And then if I find myself coming back, I've got some editing to do, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, just enjoy.
Just go with the flow. Amazing. Well, dude, it's been unbelievable to catch up with you, and to have you as the I guess first person on the Live, Explore, Thrive podcast. I'm sure this won't be the last that we hear of you. But yeah, bro, super proud of what you've achieved so far, and I can't wait to hear more about your adventures and kind of the next stage in your journey of this game that we call life.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been an absolute privilege to be number one. And I think it's so cool what you're doing, and I can't wait to watch the next one.
Yeah, no worries, bro. And yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And if you want to follow Jamie James, then yeah, I will leave his handles in the description below. But stay tuned and make sure you follow so you can kind of keep seeing these journeys of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. You know, stay tuned for the next one. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Take care now.